Namaste. And today I want to talk to you about the real meaning of the word virgin. And no, I don't mean today. Obviously, you know what that means today. I'm talking about the original meaning of it before it got distorted. Okay? But it didn't mean not having sex. Okay? I'm going to read to you a small paragraph from this book called Saturn by Liz Green. Okay? Very good book on Saturn and researching the larger lessons of your life. But I'm going to read to you. This may seem an abstruse definition for plain hardworking Virgo and her plain hardworking house. But if we look once more to the mythology, we will find that the virgin goddess of the ancients were virgin not in the sense of sexual innocence or naivete, for these goddesses were also prostitutes and ruled over the mysteries of sexual union and birth. So not only were they not sexually inexperienced and pure, but these women knew how to use their sexual power. They used it to make money, and I'm going to assume they didn't have. This doesn't necessarily mean having sex with someone you don't want to have sex with. It doesn't mean prostituting necessarily in the way of today's world, because prostitution is made illegal, and we've taken it and we've blocked it off. And I'm just saying there is a version. There are so many different possibilities for the way things can work out in this world, and we're only seeing one of them right now. So you have to expand your mind to even perceive there's another version of this that's not so dirty, or that you get where I'm going. Okay. So I'm going to read that again. We will find that the virgin goddesses of the ancients were virgin not in the sense of sexual innocence or naivete, for these goddesses were also prostitutes and ruled over the mysteries of sexual union and birth. Virgin meant whole, single, possessed by no man, and the servant or slave of no husband or lover. The Virgin Mother Goddess was a female archetype who mated and gave birth, but who would never be a wife or a helpmeet, for she was wholly herself, independent, self-contained, integrated, and dependent on no one for her meaning of expression. It was only later that these goddesses were given to solar deities, Christianity, okay, and were deprived of their autonomy and their sexuality in one clean swoop of patriarchal social development. Christianity, okay? Christianity has taken all these things and they've distorted them. I felt the urge to make this video because just one more thing to add to the big ass pile of bullshit that's been perpetuated on us. Okay? And it's hard to think outside this box because it's the box that you have grown up in. It's hard to, right? It's hard to see outside of it because you're in it. You grew up in it. You were developed in it. You were taught these things, certain meanings of things, what's socially acceptable, what's not. Who's making these things for you? Who made these things for you? Where are these things coming from? Christianity took all of these myths and all the pagan religions and everything and just mixed them all together and consolidated. That's the best word, is consolidation. It's the best merger and acquisition you've ever seen. It's the best, most successful franchise ever made. Okay, it's the original franchise before franchises were even a thing. Okay, that's it for reading. But yeah, I mean, that's where I believe we're headed. This again goes back to the fact that, and when I say headed, I'm talking across thousands of years. I'm not talking just in your own lifetime. I'm talking, this is where we are shifting towards. You have to zoom out your scope. Okay, we're moving out of the dark age of Pisces, of ignorance. Excuse me, my roof is being worked on. We're moving out of the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, ruled by Saturn, right, or Satan. Okay, not what you think, not what you think. If you're coming from a Christian or typical standpoint, Satan is really referencing back to Saturn. And Saturn is malefic in the short term, but it's the ultimate teacher, and ultimately it's to me it's the ultimate benefic in the long run. In the sense, it's giving you pain and suffering that you need to learn something, to improve yourself, that you are here to learn in this lifetime. And this can be read in someone's chart. I'm telling you, this can be read in your chart by a good professional astrologer. Okay, I'm only now studying this stuff myself. Okay, I mean, if you want a reading, contact me. You know, by the time you watch this video, I probably will have studied this thoroughly and will be able to read it in anybody's chart. So, but I know from my own chart and from the charts of friends and family that most certainly I can see this. I can see this, and the thing is with Saturn, what you see in it, wherever it is placed, you have to look at both the sign and the house using sidereal astrology, not Western. Okay, using accurate astrology, it will tell you something that you will see early on in life. Like, you can tell you when you pass 33, 35, okay, if you've learned your lessons, it's going to improve. But it's the complete opposite early in life. I have a family member that has, a young family member that has Saturn in Gemini. And when this person, as a child, this person, I saw personally, saw this person speak. We know that this person is intelligent. Okay, it's been demonstrated, but he has trouble communicating. Right, Gemini is the sign of communications. Okay, and telling stories. He has trouble telling stories, and it's like whenever he tries to tell a story, it's like we're all kind of patient, but like we're like, and then he isn't really able to just the words just don't fit together right. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes he doesn't even bother finishing the story. But guess what? That's going to create a desire within him, right? That lack, that sense of, I can't get this out. I can't express what I'm trying to communicate. In the end, he becomes a better communicator, probably a great communicator, probably a very good storyteller, right? Maybe even a good copywriter or something like that. I don't know, but we'll see. So I've seen it all ages, all levels, that there definitely is. That's the biggest lessons. You can look towards Saturn. So I apologize. This video really is about the real meaning of virgin, okay? And I didn't do the etymology on it. I didn't do any of that. I didn't even plan on doing this video. Something about this book popped out at me. I picked it up. I was flipping around, reading through some of my own placements, and boom, this thing. This was so important that I had to record it, because this is just another distortion, another trick, another delusion that's been put on you, another spell that's been put on you, and the entire culture and the entire world. Who knew that a virgin really in mythology went back to powerful women who had a grasp on their sexuality, who knew who they were, right? Who weren't afraid to use that sexuality, whether it was for good or for bad or whatever. That's separate. We don't need to look at that. That would be read separately in your chart, or looking at your chart as a whole. Okay. Point is, these women knew how to utilize their sexuality, whether it was for commerce, yes, right? See, can you even perceive of that? Can you even perceive of a world where women are allowed to trade with their own sexuality? I mean, why not? Think about that for a second. And I guarantee there are plenty of women out there that are trading for their sexuality. And I would argue that it's a much larger number than we are even willing to admit, or that even these women themselves are willing to consciously admit. Let's face it, men want sex. And many, many, many men get tricked into, not tricked, but like they get into marriage for sex. Okay, that's like one of the primary factors. I'm not saying these men don't love their wives. I'm not saying, I mean, each connection, each relationship is completely different. I'm sure there's all sorts of factors for everyone that it's a trade-off. But let's face it, sex is the underlying prerequisite for most people. That's the one thing we have in common. So why would, if sex is so valuable, why wouldn't we allow women to trade, or even men to trade for it? Why wouldn't we allow prostitution? See, the same thing we've done to drugs, okay, like marijuana, okay, is the same thing we've done to things like sex. I mean, I say we, the church, really, okay, is the original perpetuator of these things, and then we've adopted these things, and now they become so part of the culture that some of you watching this are probably getting angry at me just from listening. But I'm gonna just tell it as I see it. I'm not saying I'm like looking to go out tomorrow and like hire someone to have sex with. That's not the point. The point isn't me. The point is how do these things affect our entire culture? How do these misperceptions and these spells that have been put on you affect the entire culture? See, many people get pissed off hearing this stuff because they live inside the box, they like the box, they protect the box. I don't necessarily protect the box, right? I'm looking to kind of expand the box more so, right? Expand people's perception, become conscious. And if you're watching this video, I really hope, I'm assuming that I'm kind of preaching to the choir here, but you got to really ponder these things. Maybe just take some time, ponder, and just be honest with yourself. What's wrong? What is wrong with a woman or a man being able to trade for sex? Think about it for a second. I'll tell you what's wrong with it. What's wrong with it is that you wouldn't be doing it under the church's guidance. That you don't have to go and sign up and register yourself. That you're not locked into some kind of thing that you may or may not follow through with, but yet you pretend and say that you're going to follow through with it, and it's going to be for life, right? Over 50% of people get divorced? I mean, that doesn't work. And then how many of those, the other 50%, how many of those people are truly happy and fulfilled, right? But they're following the culture, they're following the spell that's been put on them. All I'm saying is, I'm not saying whether whether prostitution is for you or isn't for you, and I'm not saying we need to run around having pimps running around or whatever. Because if it was made legal, and I'm not saying today you couldn't just turn it over overnight, okay? But but if eventually maybe over the course of 100 years there was a general shift and people became more conscious and say, yeah, so what if a woman wants to, maybe I don't want to be married, maybe she doesn't want to get married, but we both have physical desires and needs. Maybe I have food and she has sex. I mean, she has her, which is powerful, by the way. See, all this, I mean, to somehow think that women aren't powerful is absolutely freaking nuts. Women are so fucking powerful. They're the magical ones here on this earth. Not just women, the feminine energy by itself, the whole, anything related back to the feminine. These women are more in touch with the earth. Okay, but it's these spells and it's the information that's being put into your brain. You're being tricked. And really, I'm not interested in saying we should have prostitution or we shouldn't have it. I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested in is just fucking let us be. Let us be who we would be naturally. Let us do what's going to make us the most happy and most fulfilled across the board. Okay, let us grow our own food, our own whatever, everything we want to do. It's totally not going to harm anybody else, and that's we become commodities, people. We become commodities, and it makes me sick. And I realize that you can only digest so much of this, conspiracy theory. It's not conspiracy. It's just looking at the world as it is, with the hierarchies, compartmentalization, the church, the banks have become too powerful. And you have to sort of, if you want to really be honest with yourself and have a completely clear view of these things, what you want to do is kind of empathize with these people. Imagine if you were born into a life where you were raised in such a family that you were in charge of the bank, or you owned the bank, or you were a higher up cardinal or something. You have to admit that these people they in themselves don't really know they sort of know the difference, but they don't really. They're born into these roles. Okay? So, I mean, I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying forgive them. I'm just saying that in order to change things, we need to be conscious and we need to understand where these people are coming from. Right? Know thy enemy, as they say. Right? You have to understand them and understand what they've done. It's so we can start undoing it. Okay? Be conscious. Namaste. Hope that was helpful. Again, the original meaning of virgin was not someone who didn't have sex. The original meaning of virgin was someone who had plenty of sex, had control over themselves, was free in their mind, free in their body to do with what they want, and they were probably truly magical. And again, these were probably mythological beings, but they probably were, that was represented probably in reality by the women of that time. Or maybe even some of these mythological goddesses were probably real women, not necessarily. Well, you get where I'm going. The times represent the kind of mythology we're going to put out. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Namaste. Free yourself, free your mind. Step out of the box. Don't be controlled. Okay. I'm not saying if you're married, fine, enjoy that if you enjoy that. But if you don't enjoy it, don't stay. And don't feel like you need to get married under the church. Don't feel like you need to get married at all. Don't feel like you need to get married under the state. That's a bunch of BS. Okay? A lot of Muslims don't get married under the state, right? They call that a Muslim marriage. And there is some, I mean, you could debate both sides of that, but there is something I'm just going to fall on the one side of it, is that there is something to that. Again, the Muslim religion and its treatment of women, it all depends on what sect you come in from, which culture you're born into. I'm sure there are decent versions of it. There are more suppressed versions of it. I am definitely not raising up anything that's going to suppress women or perpetuate this patriarchal hierarchy and religious environment we've created. Okay, I am absolutely not for that. So don't think that for a second. Okay, but my point about that is that if Muslims are willing to do it, so I'm just pointing out the fact that there's certain people that are doing it. There's certain people who say, the system, There's people who get called to court and don't bother showing up. See, you think you need to follow all these rules, and to some degree you do, and to some degree it will be enforced on you. But also to a lesser degree, again, you have to do your own research, gain your own understanding of the system and how it works. I'm not don't take any of this and go run with it. Like, if you're gonna make any changes to your life, go and do your due diligence. Don't just depend on me, because you don't ever want to depend on one source. That's another thing. But anyways, all right. Peace out. Namaste. Hope that was helpful.